In case you're new to the show, I'm Ronnie, and Clean With Me is the podcast where I walk you through cleaning your house step by step. Okay? Today, as I guide you through washing the dishes, wiping down surfaces, and sweeping or vacuuming your kitchen floor, I'll also be revealing some of my favorite kitchen organization hacks. Let's get right into the episode. Now, I know some of you are watching on Spotify. If so, please keep this in video mode. If I've been minimized down to the bottom, click on it, even though I want you to get up and clean, okay? If you're still sitting on the couch or lying in bed, it's time to gear up for your cleaning session. Maybe you need to wash your face and run a brush through your hair, or if you're already looking presentable, you could start a load of laundry or take out your kitchen trash. But for Spotify listeners, that video mode helps me out financially, so please have me enlarged on the screen, even though my hair is in a ponytail and I didn't really do much to fix up today. Have you ever gotten triggered because you went to cook dinner and that one measuring cup or gadget was missing? And if you can't relate, it might be that you're the only one who washes dishes or prepares food at your house. But for those of us with teenagers and maybe a husband that cooks and does dishes, it's sometimes a struggle when they have a different idea of where things go. That's where labels and containers can help, okay? You want to make it obvious where things go. And I haven't done this yet, but I'm planning to look for some containers at Dollar Tree and organize my gadgets. For example, one would be for measuring cups. And yes, I use different measuring cups for dry and wet ingredients. What's so weird is I could have sworn I read that there's a slight variation between the two types of measuring cups as far as the amounts that they hold. I mean, obviously I knew it was similar, but then when I looked it up today, I read that the difference between the dry and the wet measuring cups lies in their design and intended use. But they hold the exact same volume, apparently. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Hopefully, you are gearing up for your cleaning session, doing whatever you need to do. It's important to take out the trash before starting a kitchen cleaning session and then relining it, okay? But your next step is going to be gathering dishes from around the house. Maybe there are coffee mugs or water glasses on your nightstand, or your husband has an ice cream bowl there. Maybe someone forgot to clear their plate and fork from the dining room table. Or maybe somebody forgot to clear their plate and fork from the dining room table. If you have teenagers who are allowed to eat in their bedrooms, be sure to check their rooms too. I don't think my daughter eats in her room. I have two kids still living at home. But lately my youngest son does eat while he's doing his video games. He has a little desk. But he's super good about keeping his room clean and taking his own dirty dishes to the sink. But I sometimes preemptively grab an empty cereal bowl off of his desk while he's in a game. The next thing I want you to do once you gather everything up, which should only take a few seconds, is clear off your kitchen countertops. Now, you might be tempted to start on dishes first. Sometimes, we feel overwhelmed by the dishes and we're like, I've got to at least get the dishes done. But eliminating clutter is going to make the task of cleaning your kitchen seem less daunting. So let's put those cereal boxes away. Let's throw away any trash off the countertops. And let's quickly relocate any items that don't belong in the kitchen at all. In most kitchens, there's what another cleaning influencer, Fly Lady, calls hot spots. Hot spots are just clutter magnets, and they're different for everybody. In our kitchen, the hot spots are the island and the pantry floor. People plop anything and everything on the kitchen island or just leave things there during food prep. I don't know why they leave paper plates and wrappings and things like that. But in the pantry, there's also empty water bottle packaging or maybe the occasional empty dog food bag that needs to be thrown away. And items can quickly build up in these places if you don't consistently clear the clutter. And I realize your hot spots may be different. Once you have your countertops cleared off, which shouldn't take long and makes a huge difference visually, it's time to pre-rinse any difficult items and get them soaking. I'm talking about things with baked on or dried on food. Alternatively, you could spray them with a product like Dawn Power Wash. Okay? Once you get everything pre-treated, you're going to start unloading the drying rack. You don't have to be cleaning exactly along. I'm just kind of listing things. But, emptying your dishwasher and drying rack, and then maybe you're going to start your first sink load, which is typically cups, glasses, silverware, plates, and bowls. If you're like me, you also, you put those smaller items in the dishwasher and also position some knives and cooking spoons on the top rack. Okay. Whatever doesn't fit in my dishwasher, I hand wash, but I realize that some of you are hand washing everything. Everyone's situation is different and will vary from day to day or meal to meal. I talked about in a previous episode that when we only have a few things to wash, we just hand wash them oftentimes. Okay, just be working on dishes, whatever that means for you today. Anyway, I just read today that the dry measuring cups that are used for ingredients like flour, sugar, and nuts are typically designed to be filled to the top and leveled off for accuracy. I knew that, but for some reason I thought there was like a tiny difference in, the amount that they held. Whereas the measuring cups, which are used for, liquid ingredients like water, milk, and oil, often have a spout for easy pouring and are marked with measurement lines so you can kind of hold them up and make sure you get the accurate liquid measurement. Anyway, I've known for a while that the individual cups labeled 1 cup, 1/2 cup, and so on, a lot of times they're plastic, are for unless you're bougie and you have metal ones or something. But I've known for a while those are for dry ingredients. But for some reason, I thought it would be slightly inaccurate to put liquid in those, even though I do it sometimes. But I just read that both types of cups hold the exact same volume. They're just designed differently to ensure accurate measurement. Be working on dishes while I talk. Now that I read that, I'm thinking it's probably fine that I'm sometimes using those individual plastic cups to measure both the rice and the water when I make rice on the stove. Maybe I was just confused because with the Instant Pot, it comes with a water cup that's not a standard cup. And then they have their own recipes that talk about their cup. Maybe it's a Mandela effect. No, I'm just kidding. I don't believe in that. But this does seem like one of those situations for me anyway. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the type of person who measures everything when I cook, but I am careful about rice and water ratios and, of course, any baked goods I make. I feel like baking is a science. Cooking's more of an art. My husband's Hispanic, though, so when he makes rice, he uses that method where he fills the water up to a certain knuckle after putting the rice in first, and it comes out great. Anyway, my temporary hack for quickly throwing together a recipe when the measuring cup you're looking for is buried in that drying rack that your husband stacked sky high, or just someone put it away wrong. My little hack is just to grab a mason jar that has the ounces listed on the side. That works great for measuring liquids. And now I'm realizing I could measure flour in there if I have to. I know that when you're baking bread, you are supposed to scoop, you're supposed to pour, not scoop, because if you use the measuring cup to scoop it, it could be packed and you could put more in there. Anyway, hopefully by now you've put away the clean dishes and maybe even washed a few dirty ones. Either keep plugging away on those dishes if you have a lot of dishes to do, or if you're ahead of the game, start spraying and wiping down kitchen surfaces from the top down. You might even have time to clean the inside of your microwave, which is today's bonus task, should you choose to accept it. The way these cleaning sessions work is if you're overwhelmed, you kind of do the bare minimum, but then on a day where you're more caught up, you do a deeper clean. Just keep working in the kitchen while I talk about today's product recommendation. It's not a sponsor or anything like that. I just wanted to say that I really like using the Scrub Mommies and the Scrub Daddies, especially the Scrub Mommy. And I recently read that they're more hygienic than a traditional sponge because they're odor resistant and they dry faster. And that's probably why they don't, stink. And like other sponges, they can be sanitized in the dishwasher or microwave. Or anyway, the res side foam of the Scrub Mommy is designed to resist stains and rinse clean, preventing bacterial buildup that's found in the standard absorbent sponges, like your little Scotch-Brite or whatever. That's what I used to use. I mainly like to pre-rinse with a long-handled brush, and then I do the actual washing with a Scrub Mommy, which is like the Scrub Daddy, but it has a soft side. It's more of an all-in-one tool because it has that, you kind of need that soft side for getting the grease off of your dishes, like with a sponge or with a rag. But if the Scrub Mommy wears out before I buy another one, I of course do dishes the old-fashioned way with a dish rag. And like I always say, this show is more about keeping you on task than telling you which products to use, but a lot of you have expressed that you want me to include product recommendations in the episode. Once your dishes are done, it's time to start spraying your countertops and other surfaces. If you're wiping down your cabinets today, maybe you'll spray those first. Some of you have a baby or toddler and have a high chair to clean. I always forget to mention that. But anyway, if you've already given your countertop, stovetop, and tabletop a swipe, maybe after breakfast or lunch, and there's not a new mess, you can get started on sweeping or mopping the kitchen floor. Otherwise, for the rest of you, finish cleaning those upper surfaces from the top down before moving on to sweeping and maybe mopping your kitchen floor. And I use like a Shark vacuum, another product recommendation there in the kitchen. I already talked a little bit about labeling containers, which is something I already plan to do I already do to an extent in the pantry, but I'm planning to do it inside some of my cupboards, like the one I call my Ronnie Tools cupboard, where I have just various gadgets that I kind of hide from the rest of the family. They're just for me. Anyway, you want to use storage containers and then label them. And there are cute stickers you can get at Walmart. You can order them online. But by putting things in containers and labeling them, it helps the rest of the family put them away correctly. And think outside the box here, meaning putting more things into boxes or baskets than you usually would. The things that you would normally just place in your cupboard or pantry so that you can label where things go. For example, you might use a plastic container and put a sticker on it with the words blender and food processor parts. Okay, that might be something that I hide in the Ronnie Tools cupboard or something. I mean, organization is unique to you because we all use different gadgets. But the point is that everyone is more likely to remember where to put things when they are clearly labeled. Another tip is using Lazy Susans. If you don't know what those are, they're just circular trays that spin around, okay? You can use these in your fridge or your pantry to make condiments or small seasonings and other items easily accessible, and this prevents items from getting lost in the back. So that's a good organization trick, so you're not having to pull a bunch of things out when you're looking for something. You could also invest in a pot and pan organizer. I'm super interested in that, but for now what I did a while back was that I took a sturdy cardboard box that's like dark brown and has a nice shiny finish, so it doesn't just look like just a box. And I put that inside of the cabinet under my kitchen island to hold my lids. I think I got it with some unique makeup that I ordered. So, think outside the box there to use random boxes that you get in the mail. Basically, if you order something or you open a gift that comes in a nice box or other container that, you're tempted to keep, go ahead and keep it. It's not hoarding. You can use that somewhere in your kitchen or elsewhere in your home. For example, don't just throw your gravy packets on the pantry shelf. Have a container for those. I've talked about this before, but I also have a container for all of my small baking ingredients to keep them together, and I pull that out when I'm baking. I'm talking about baking powder, baking soda, vanilla extract, little bags of nuts, little bags of coconut, powdered sugar, small stuff like that. Baking bread is another animal. I keep my little yeast in the refrigerator. But hopefully you're still working on those floors, okay? Or you've at least started on the floors. Nothing says a clean house like a sparkling clean kitchen floor. So keep up the good work in there. My other kitchen organization hack when it comes to pots and pans is to put the old ones out in the garage with your camping gear, kind of the one in, one out rule. If you get a new one, remove something from circulation. Or maybe set it aside to give to a young person when they're starting out in a new apartment, okay? It's always a good idea to pull some things out of circulation that are only used on rare occasions, okay? I have a hard to reach cabinet above the fridge where I keep the containers that I use for potlucks, like this insulated thing that I put a casserole dish in, you know, the turkey platter I use at Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think I even have a football shaped pan up there that I bought years ago when we had another couple over to watch a football game. And I might use it again, but I don't want that taking up space where my everyday pans go. I don't want to be searching for things after a long day when I go to cook. It's my pet peeve. By the way, special thanks to my financial supporters who support the show either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Patreon, or some other way. If you're already listening to Clean With Me on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, the paid subscription is probably already being advertised to you. And Patreon allows you to support the show at different levels. So some people do a Patreon on top of, you know, their Apple or Spotify subscription. Or they're on Patreon supporting me at a higher level than the minimum. Such a blessing. I appreciate anything you can do, you know, even just the minimal subscription. But I also appreciate those who listen to the free episodes. One way you can help me without spending a dime is by clicking on that 5th star to give me an excellent rating on whichever app you listen on. And again, if you happen to be listening on Spotify, please listen in video mode instead of having, you know, your little bar minimized down at the bottom or whatever. Video mode does help me out immensely. Just keep plugging away on that kitchen floor. You're doing great. If you have little ones who are napping and you just swept or vacuumed your kitchen, this would be the perfect time to mop. Or if they're awake, line up your kitchen table chairs in the living room or dining room chairs in your living room or family room and let them pretend it's a choo-choo train with dolls and stuffed animals as passengers. That's how I kept my younger ones busy when they were little and I needed to mop while they were awake. It's a kind of a precious memory. My middle daughter saying, "All aboard," with her little silly accent she had back then. "All aboard the choo-choo train, all aboard." I would also quickly towel dry the floor, you know, so a kid wouldn't run in while it was still wet. But drying your kitchen floors with a towel is a great way to get it clean around the edges. And let's face it, some of you need to get down on your hands and knees and clean the perimeter of your kitchen floor with a damp towel and some cleaner. If you're still sweeping or mopping, don't stop, okay? This episode is coming to a close because we're out of time, but you could always put on some music or listen to another podcast that maybe isn't even related to cleaning, or phone a friend after this episode ends. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you got a lot done. As always, happy cleaning, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.